Hello, my whoop friends. There is a myth in our tiny whoop hobby that says there are 0702 motors that make cornering feel better, and that they make flying feel safer overall, more locked in, with more control. And I'll tell you honestly now that, by and large, this is a myth. Most of the time, it's other factors that give pilots the feeling that one motor is better than another. I'll talk about those factors in another video someday, if I find the time. I can say this because I've flown almost all of these motors, as you can see in my videos on this YouTube channel. On top of that, I've also done static thrust tests with almost all of these motors, which you can also find on this channel. And I've disassembled almost all of these motors to study the number of winding turns and their construction. The conclusion from all of that work is that there are small design differences, but apart from thrust, they don't have much effect on the flight characteristics. They have more influence on weight and a little on efficiency. These are small differences that, in my opinion, 90% of pilots won't notice. The biggest difference was the power output of the motors, which mainly depends on the motor's real-life kV. With one exception, and that's the exception we're going to talk about today. The RCinpower 0702 29,000 kV motor surprised me. In terms of power, it performs within the normal range. Its power and kV place it in the upper middle of the field. In my opinion, it's a medium kV motor. Unfortunately, the motor is a little heavy, but it has long motor wires, which I personally appreciate. Somehow, on the very first flight, I immediately felt very confident while flying. I had good control of the tiny whoop despite the wind. Somehow, it felt like this motor had noticeably better response than other motors. The flight time was also satisfying, considering the rather high weight of over 17 grams for the test tiny whoop. It averaged about 2 minutes and 30 seconds with my usual outdoor freestyle racing flight style, and about 4 minutes and 50 seconds during the indoor hover test at a height of 1 meter at room temperature. So I flew these RCinpower 0702 29,000 kV motors for a few days and didn't think much about it, other than being very satisfied and, as I said, somehow feeling that this motor had good response. Then I performed the static thrust test and wanted to compare the results with Chris Rosser's big tiny whoop motor test video. That's when I saw that, according to Chris Rosser's test, this exact RCinpower 0702 29,000 kV motor has exceptionally good response. That means good acceleration and good deceleration. So it could actually be that my feeling while flying was correct, and that this tiny whoop motor really does stand out from the others when it comes to better control in flight, a more locked-in flight feel. At the end of the day, I can't prove it, my whoop friends. I can only share my experiences and give you my recommendations. And I would recommend this motor as a good all-round motor and as a motor for FPV beginners that may actually provide slightly better control while flying, especially for outdoor flying in windy conditions. The RCinpower 0702 29,000 kV motor is definitely the only 0702 motor with which I had the feeling that it was actually a little different from other 0702 motors when it comes to torque, response, control, or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, everyone has to find out for themselves what the right equipment is for their current goals, preferences, flying style, and skill level. Happy flying, my whoop friends.